Good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live here on PODTV.tv. And I'm your host, Reggie Kearney, and we're just going to sit back tonight and jaw a little bit for about an hour. It's just me tonight, no guests tonight. But there's a lot of news out there for us to talk about. So I do appreciate you all tuning in to sit back and listen to me jibber jabber. Please put your comments in the comment section. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you want to talk about. So that'll be cool. But let me see, where I'm gonna start at tonight. Oh, we can start with football. Hey, I like starting with sports before we get down to the nitty gritty of things. Had some good football games over the weekend. The best game I liked was Green Bay and Dallas, and Green Bay stung Dallas and beat them. So that was something great. A lot of people be asking, why do football fans hate Dallas so much? I don't know, but we all do. Whatever team you favor or own or you support, that team always hates Dallas. So they're sitting at home for the rest of the playoffs and the Super Bowl on the couch, joining my team, the Commanders. So it's good and glad to have all the Dallas fans with us on the couch. Game last night, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay. Hey, Tampa Bay's playing good. It's either Tampa Bay's playing good or Philadelphia is just going down the tubes, and they are a terrible team. So that's my sports update. We still got basketball going on, the NBA, things of that nature. Lakers are still struggling. Can't figure that one out, but it is what it is. So hope everyone had a great day yesterday celebrating Dr. MLK, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s day. Hope you all were able to partake into a service opportunity, service project, or attended a church service commemorating his birthday, or just just reflecting on what it means and what his dream means. And, one of the things I can say, we still dreaming.
Still dreaming. That dream was some 60 years ago. We still over here dreaming about that dream and everything. Because I was actually thinking, because we even played on the network a copy of his one of his speeches. Not we did do the famous "I Have a Dream" speech, but then we also did one of my favorites. Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? In which he actually called for something that some of the Republicans have fought against, some of the Democrats have liked, some of the people on both sides of the aisles have liked. But I had literally forgotten until I was listening to that speech that we aired yesterday on MLK Day that Dr. King actually called for a universal wage where everybody got some sort of universal wage. And all along those lines, he actually said that if we could put a man on the moon and that we can fight this unjust war, that's what he called it, and everything in Vietnam, why can't we give everybody a universal wage? And it sounds like a legitimate point in the 60s, and it also sounds like a legitimate point in 2024. I mean, we kind of came close to that with some of the way that the pandemic money was handled and the stimulus money, but I don't see why that can be done on a more consistent and a regular basis, particularly when we're sending money to different countries that are fighting their wars and all along those lines. But he did urge and ask for us to have a universal wage, and I don't know why we couldn't do it in this day and time as well.
Well, I think one of the things, one of the reasons we don't have a universal wage right now, or a higher wage, starting wage here in the United States, is because so many areas are already up in the ante. But you got to remember, those are blue states. Okay, here in Maryland, it's $15 an hour. DC is $15 an hour. One of the counties in Maryland here in Montgomery County, which is probably the most populous county in the state, their county executive is talking about, asking the council to approve $20 an hour. Okay. Then we have California, who is at a $20 an hour rate or a little more, and I know North Carolina is still probably at 7.25 as a federal
Yeah, we
wage.
still stuck. We still. I have a saying. Some of my friends here on Pod TV like it. I made it up, and even some of the
Oh,
founders of the network like it as
mhm.
well. But on certain issues, we're stuck on stupid. That's
Yeah,
my new saying, that we're stuck on stupid, and the minimum wage at 7.25 is an example of being stuck on stupid.
yeah, and what I can't understand is states. The majority of the states are stuck on. Like red states are stuck on 7.25. But
Mhm.
why are they stuck on 7.25? I mean, we've been at 7.25. God, I can't even count the years that we've been on 7.25. That's how long we've been on 7.25. Excuse me, but I think the issue is that the Republicans don't think people need a whole lot of money to live off of, and they also had this idea too that okay, if you're at 7.25, you need to work hard at trying to get yourself from 7.25 to a decent wage.
Yeah.
But I'm not taking anything off of immigrants or anything like that, but the problem is in all those red states, and as long as you have individuals who are willing to take those jobs at 7.25, it's not going to change. It's not going to be an incentive for the state legislation to um, change the hourly rate. It's no incentive there. And it's the same thing with the federal government, the federal wage. There's no incentive to up the ante and pay individuals more money than what they're making.
Right.
7.25 is nothing.
Not a thing.
It's not nothing. What you talking about on 40 hours a week, about almost $300. Then you take taxes out.
Exactly.
Then you take insurance out, Social Security out. You might have 150 left after all that comes out.
Wow. And that's like, I think about how much it takes just to live and everything. I mean, I
Yeah.
got friends, and I know that there are some of us that are guilty of eating beyond our means. I'll just put it
Hmm.
that way and everything. I know that I sometimes eat out way too much, and I probably could save some money by
Hmm.
actually grabbing some food from the grocery store and actually doing some of my own cooking and everything. But that's still only going to save but so much. It's still
Yeah.
not going to take away
Hmm.
the fact that rent's due, and that water is due, and that electricity is due. And of course, if you want to be part of the communication era, you got
Hmm.
to have your internet, and you might even want a television and a number of other things. So there's a lot of things that are out there that are almost, I'm not going to say that the internet is a necessity, but it is definitely close to a necessity in terms
Yeah.
of communication and everything along those lines. So there's these expenses that are there that add up. I think that they even say that what's the rule for rent, to not to spend more than a third of your wages or something like that on rent. But I know a number of people that are paying, maybe they're making $2,500 to $3,000 and paying anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 for their
Hmm.
rent. And so the last time I checked, that's closer to half of your rent going half of your money going into rent. But with the high cost of housing, you don't sometimes have a choice. I mean, you can try to find a roommate or do some other things to cut the cost or to share the cost, but that also can be a interesting thing with the dynamics, because not everybody likes to and can live with everybody either. So that's also how you got to figure out those dynamics as well.
Yeah. So it's hard, and so without this increase in salaries and stuff, you're going to continue to have people out, stealing and selling drugs and doing things that they shouldn't do to try to make ends meet. It comes down to a thing of survival. So I think Dr. King was right in that point that we do need to increase the wages. I mean, because you and I buy in the same age boat.
Hmm.
You might be a little younger than me, but I mean, I look at it when I was working. I had a job at 17 working at a place called Tasty Freeze, and I was making about a dollar and some change, about $1.25, $1.50 then. And I thought I was doing real good. As a teenager, you think you're doing real good because you have a little change in your pocket. At the end of the week after you put in some hours. But that wasn't a whole lot. Even it could have been because. I mean, you're talking about gas at 50 cents a gallon. Bread was probably about 75 cents a loaf. Things of that nature. But people need a living wage now, and that's basically what they need. And
A question for you about that, because we were having some conversations about this on some of our other shows and everything. But are you at all concerned about the growing wage gap? Because I know some people that are influential, and they might not quite be billionaires, but they might work with some billionaires, and they are thinking that maybe we are taxing too much or expecting too much from our upper class and everything. But at the same time, there is a widening gap between those that are very affluent and those that are very much in the poverty area, and there's a very big group in between that is that middle class, whether that's the lower middle class or the upper middle class, and all in that space. But I just wondering, what are your thoughts when you hear? Because I just recently heard that the top five billionaires are increasing their wealth, and significantly so, and that they might even be one of them, whether it's Elon Musk or whether it's Warren Buffett or one of the other ones. I forgot who the five are, but there are five that were listed in this article that I saw and everything, that there might be among them a trillionaire eventually as well. And I don't think we've had a trillionaire yet, but they said that somebody might be a trillionaire. And I don't know what that would do for you, because one of my favorite blues songs talks about that, there's certain things you can't take with you. And one of them
right.
is that all that wealth. As a matter of fact, I think the line in the blues song that I am a fan of, and I can't think of the artist, is that I haven't seen a armored car at a funeral yet, and everything. And that might be some truth to that statement.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that's happened here in America is the tax laws have benefited the wealth, the rich and the wealthy. Okay, and it's given them a lot of loopholes to maintain and keep that wealth. And that's you have to thank the Republican Party for that. I think they need to show them more. When you are a billionaire and you worth almost $30 billion or something like that, like Bezos, some of those guys. But I think you need to share a little more of your wealth through taxes and stuff. But you got these guys almost to the point where their taxes paid a little or nothing when they can afford it, and then they'll be the first ones to say that, why are we being taxed? Why can't I keep my wealth? Now, I don't have a problem with someone becoming wealthy, okay? There are people that have worked hard and gotten their wealth and they enjoy it and they deserve it, they work for it. Then you got others that play the lottery, but they get their tax, depending on how they get paid, they get their taxes taken out anyway, so we can't include them. But I think you need to shoulder some of the responsibility for putting money back out on the streets, okay? Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be allowed to make $1 million and you keep 950,000, okay? But then when the IRS gets going after somebody, they'll come after me because I owe them $10 plus interest before they go after these guys who are beating the system. Exactly. They're beating it legally. And, so I think the tax laws have to be adjusted. But every time you say that, first thing someone says, if you adjust the tax laws, these guys are more likely to close their companies down or cut back on hiring or things of that nature. So, what do you do? What do you do? So it's disappointing that, the lower class and the middle class, have to shoulder the burdens of the budgetary needs of this country.
Yeah. And then that's what they do, to carry the budget. I mean, carry the bulk of what's going on, and all along those lines. You're so right about that. I did have a question. I was going to come back. We can talk politics again, but coming back to the sports, I was glad to see that my Marquette team bounced back after a 2-game skid by beating Villanova yesterday. We got a tough game on Saturday, going up into St. John's and going up into the Northeast and everything. But I did watch a few, not all of them, of the NFL playoffs, and for the most part, except for one game by a surprising team that was ended by 1 point, most of those games were literally in wild card weekend slaughters. There wasn't that much closeness in hardly any of them, except for Detroit against the Rams, and surprisingly, Philly got ran over, and a couple of other teams got run over as well. But I don't know whether you think, and I never played football. I did run track way back in the high school days, but even I, as a non-football player, know basic tackling. And like that game yesterday, that was some of the most missed tackling that I've ever
Yeah.
seen by a team with the Eagles and everything. Because there were some tackles that should have been made, with your eyes closed, but they were missing them left and right.
Well,
So I just wanted your thoughts about some of the conditioning, maybe of our athletes as well.
I, I don't know. Philadelphia, before they went on a losing string, they were 10-1. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then they went into a 1-6 losing
Right.
string. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the players lost heart. I don't know if something going on with the coach. Something changed them where the guys came to play just hard enough to get paid, and nobody would criticize them. But
Right.
it was like they didn't mind losing.
Yeah,
They didn't
there's like their
mind
mind
losing.
was, yeah, it's like their mind was on something else, and it was like they were distracted. I mean, I can get that if you're Kansas City, you might get distracted by all that hoopla
Hmm.
around Taylor Swift and her popping up into the game, and the fact that it's like some crazy degree of temperatures, and they did
Yeah.
win their game and everything. So I can get it in that case and everything. But I'm
Hmm.
sitting there like, that's a whole side circus going on with
Hmm.
Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey. But I don't get
Yeah.
it if you're getting paid all this money and all that kind of salary that you would hopefully put in some
Hmm.
dedication. But I made the mistake. Don't ask me why. And I was glad to see that Carolina was well representative. But I think I was watching one of those old TV shows, like might have been one of the old crime dramas, and right after that came on was the draft of the women's soccer. And I imagine they ain't gonna make no NBA money. They might not even make WNBA money, but they'll
Hmm.
make at least some decent salary going off to play in the professional soccer league. And the first two picks were literally some young ladies from UNC, and I do mean young, they're like 19 or 20, something
Hmm.
like that, and everything. But it was impressive seeing them, just like the guy athletes being dressed to the T's and ready to accept their team assignment from their commissioner and go off into the wild world of professional sports in the
Hmm.
soccer. So,
Yeah.
soccer has definitely done well, particularly women's soccer. So it'll be interesting to see how these young ladies do and if they bring their team a championship
Hmm.
or not.
And I mean, sports now is a lucrative area where you can make money as a young person. If you have the skills. Okay. If you look at what basketball players and baseball and football and all the other sports the guys make, you can put a little cheddar in your pocket.
Hey,
Uh,
man.
hey, we didn't. Put it this way: when a max contract back in the day, like I was reading on Walt Frazier, was $75,000. Okay, that was big money, and he was able to live in New York and live a great life. And I
Right.
think towards his final years in the NBA, he might have pushed 200,000, 100 to 200,000 per year, and those contracts were considered big contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably could go to a game at Madison Square Garden for $10 a game. I mean, kind of averages itself out. But those guys did not make big money. I mean, the money they made, they were making more money than a lot of other people were making. But a lot of it was for the love of the game. Now
Yeah,
these
I mean,
guys,
like I said, I don't know what it is right now, but I'm just looking it up. According to before they got into their current agreement, the NWSL minimum salaries were 22,000, 10,000 below what is considered a living wage. But now they have raised that up as of last year to 35,000. So they're trying to get, I guess, their folks to get a bigger amount, and that was the salary from like minimum salary from 21 to 22, and then the maximum was in 2020 it was 50,000 before allocation money, and now in 2022 it was 75,000. So so there might be some players that are making north of 99,000 and able
yeah,
to make some pretty decent money. And matter of fact, there are some that look like they might be making in the millions and everything,
hmm
depending on where they're playing and if they're playing overseas or where else they might be playing as well. So I think that 35,000, even a couple of 100,000 or close to a million, you might be able to survive even
yeah,
as a women's soccer player. and all along those lines. So definitely, and some of them might decide to go overseas because they might make a higher pay and everything. Matter of fact, I'm seeing that the highest paid women's soccer player as of a writing back in July uh, of last year was Alex Morgan, who makes a $7.1 million salary per year. So I think 7.1 million, I'd be playing and kicking that ball left and right if they wanted me to get that kind of money. I might even might even dust off my skills. And I used to play some pickup games. Never was very good at anything, but my cousin would come to the house and we might play a pickup game because I think he was into that and everything. So definitely, and they're saying that the Women's World Cup prize money because it'd be worth 110 million. 49 million of that eventually going to individual players. So yeah, I mean, a couple of million to kick a ball around. That might be something that you can do and be not too mad about and everything. So.
Yeah, so I mean, so sports can, get a lot of people, set a lot of people up for life, and move them on. So, but getting back to yesterday, we got a lot of work to do, to see the dream, one of the things I notice that Republicans try to do when they look at his speeches, they try to take certain phrases of his speeches to make catchphrases with, like Bobert from Colorado said that King was a man who wanted equity. Okay. No, yeah, equality. I think it was equity that he wanted. He wanted everybody to be equal. She was saying that all this woke stuff and all this kind of stuff has got to stop because King didn't believe in that. I think when King said those things, he thought he saw a world that would be colorblind. Okay.
Right.
That's what his dream was. Okay. He didn't, and that's what he hoped. But things have not changed. We still live in there's a lot of racism going on here in this world, When someone like Nikki Haley says that, says that racism isn't as bad as it once was, it's not a point of how bad it is. Racism is racism. I don't care where you have it at.
But it wasn't just Nikki that did that. Didn't you catch the latest one? That crazy gentleman that was involved in medicine came out recently and said that he didn't think that racism was all that bad and that he didn't believe in systematic racism. And part of that was he was out there campaigning for his boy Trump. But yeah, Ben Carson came out there and said that systematic racism is a non-existent thing in the year 2024. I don't know if he's gone for a housing loan or if he's gone to a bank lately, but I can tell you some people that I know that can tell you some direct experiences that they had with systematic racism, even the way that some of our youth are arrested versus certain other communities as well. But yeah, he swore up and down that systematic racism was a thing of the past.
And see, I try to give Carson a pass because he had brain surgery, not getting on the man's case or anything. But, I think he's lost some of his faculties to make good judgment and good sound decisions, okay? It's like him and Clarence Thomas, they want to forget where they came from, okay? It's easy to forget where they came from and agree with everything that the so-called Republican establishment has set up, And Ben Carson knows good and daggone well that there's racism out here continuing on today, okay? And he needs to wake up, but he done drunk the juice, And like I said, I don't care who you vote for, as long as you go out and vote, because we had a lot of people who fought for the right for black people to vote, but don't drink the juice. And if you're going to drink it, do your research, but you got 25%, of the black voters, mostly male, are supporting 45.
They supporting 45 and they supporting them big time. And like you said, there's a lot of males, a lot of business owners that are saying, I've heard a couple of them even online say that they feel that the business scene will be better for them than it is under Biden if 45 is elected again and everything. But I'm not sure that I buy that argument, and I'm curious to see your thoughts around that, because there's like, yeah, things will be better. He supported the HBCUs. He did this and that.
He didn't do crap for HBCUs. Okay, he got up there, and all the black presidents and chancellors of HBCU, got up there, went to the White House, giggling and laughing and saying "massa" and all this kind of stuff, and then get crap. Okay, good. And I got to do the research on him, but the whole thing didn't fall like he wanted to fall. It was a photo opportunity for 45 to get all these black men in there and black women in there and make it look like he was going to do something for them.
And see, he didn't do jack, didn't do a thing for
Didn't do
them
the
at
thing.
all.
Biden has done more for HBCUs than this other guy did.
Yeah.
Photo opportunity. I went and took my butt up in the White House with him, knowing what the things he said on the campaign trail.
Oh, I hear you. I would have done the same thing, but I don't know if I told you, but I had a chance last week to interview a friend of mine who is a stand-up comedian. He actually did a stand-up comedy show, and I got to say he had some boldness to do it, but sometimes it's the green. So he actually told me he did a comedy show because he is a stand-up comedian in addition to being an actor and other things, literally in front of the client. When I was like, hey, that was bold of you, but then I thought about it. He might have even doing it at a regular comedy club, been doing them in front of some client members. They just didn't have the sheets on. So
that's right. That's right. You don't never know. Sometimes I sit back and I look. I say we all crowd into a football stadium on Sunday or arena during the week, look at basketball games. I say, I wonder if you could really figure it out, how many of these people in here can't stand blacks, but love the entertainment that black athletes provide for them.
Oh yeah. But the Big East is doing something different because I think that I was watching the game between Marquette and Villanova, and I think they said, there might be some people in various parts of the Big East that might be upset about that. But I think that the Big East has actually 6 African American coaches at the time. Shaka Smart being one of them, the coach of Villanova being another. But out of 11 teams, I think 6 of them are actually the coach that we got lost to, Sentinel and everything. Holloway, I believe it is, man. So at least 6 of the 11 coaches are African American. So that's a conference that's actually doing well in that category. But
so I mean, it amazes me, how we look at things, and like I say, each individual can use their vote like they want to, but I hate it when blacks aren't doing their research and not adhering to the fact that 45 don't give a rat's about black folks. Okay.
No, he could care less about us.
Doesn't.
He could care less about us.
Yeah. And like they said, if you look at him from the past, he never has associated with intellectual blacks. Okay. He always surrounded himself with entertainers because he's always felt like he was a step above entertainers when it came to intelligence. He didn't feel like entertaining. You don't take a lot to be an entertainer, And see, and that's one reason he was ducking all these debates. He wasn't ducking debates because of the percentage of the lead. I think he was ducking because he's not smart enough to engage.
You think he was afraid that he might put his foot in his mouth?
He always does that.
We can use that, especially he's afraid that it might cost him some votes instead of gaining some votes and all along those lines. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, and speaking of North Carolina, because we know we are a swing state, I just found out earlier today that Kamala came last week and was touting some of the things that they've been doing innovation-wise and around computers and technology and infrastructure and everything. But apparently, I think in 2 days or about a day and a half, Mr. Biden's supposed to be down here somewhere in my neck of the woods, either Raleigh or Durham or Chapel Hill. I'm thinking one of the RTP businesses. But apparently, he's even made it a point of saying that this is going to be a pivotal state in the campaign and everything, in the state that he feels that he needs to do a strong showing in, even though historically North Carolina has not gone that well for the Democrats and everything. But I'm just wondering your thoughts around the possibility of, and Georgia's another one, what kind of shot Biden will have in the South and everything, because definitely it sounds like he's going to put some efforts to try to win some of these southern states.
I hope and pray that the Democrats can pull it off, okay? And Grandpa Joe can win again, okay? But when you listen to guys like Charlemagne the God and others, they bring up some valid points, okay?
Right.
That neither party has really done anything that really supports the black community.
True that.
or communities of color. But this is the wrong time to be having that conversation, okay? Because if you continue this conversation, what's going to happen? You're going to, a lot of blacks going to become disillusioned. And they're going to start saying, why should I vote? If the Republican Party ain't going to do this and the Democratic Party isn't going to do that, why should I vote? Okay? And they might not come out and vote, okay? See, you got to realize people who like the orange head, they like him because of this. He says, like you say, he's always sticking his foot in his mouth.
Right.
But people feel like he's one of them when he says what he wants to say. It's just like the other day, the judge told him, do not come up here with no BS and just make a statement.
Right.
Now, the judge should have known, giving him any kind of time, he's going to do exactly what he wants to do. So that's what he did. He came in there and said what he wanted to say against the wishes of what the judge told him not to say. People feed off of that. Look at him. He done told the judge, our judge told him not to do it. He did it anyway. See, the dude's a con artist. He knows just what he needs to do to win his people over, his base over. Okay? So that's what he does. So and I'll be honest, I'm of the opinion that the neither party, Republicans or the Democrats, have done enough for people of color. Okay? Mm-hmm. But I don't think this is the right time enough to have. This is not the time to have that conversation.
No, I agree with you. It's not the time to have that conversation. But on that same point that you're talking about, that base of his, and some people will say that it's only 30% or maybe 35% of the population. I know that even here on the network, we've had some people that say that they are 100% confident that the 65% that are not with his base will come out and vote overwhelmingly so that he will not win a term after having lost a term, being kind of like Grover Cleveland and all in that space. I am not 100% convinced of that because of what you just said. I think that there are a lot of people that are disillusioned and that are not going out to vote and everything. So I hope that I am wrong, but I'm not going to be surprised overly if we don't wake up in November and see that 45 has come back and won a term to be 47. So I'm hoping that I'm wrong and all of that, but I am also a little bit alarmed when I have conversations with both friends as well as a lot of acquaintances, and they're telling me what you're saying, that they're disillusioned and that they don't see any reason to go out and vote. And then you got wild cards in the picture as well, because somebody asked me earlier today about Jill Stein, who is very intellectual and very much, I think, I'm running in the Green Party and everything. And those are going to be votes that'll go away from Biden. So I'm one afraid of some of the wild cards like Jill Stein and Robert Kennedy and how they could pull some of his votes, and two, this disillusionment that might cause people to sit on their hands and not go out and vote. And then, of course, we'll be the first ones crying that it was all unfair if 45 winds up being 47 and everything.
Yeah. So it could very well happen because, like I said, I think young people are disillusioned. You got a lot of blacks that feel, that, hey, it's not doing anything for me, especially blacks that live in the inner city and that have to struggle each and every day. They're not seeing something that's tangible being given to them to help them improve their lives. Okay? Yeah. And like I said, I just don't think the Democratic Party, this is the thing. The Democratic Party has depended on the black vote for years, and so they feel like it's a gimme. Okay,
yeah, like you said, a given. It is, it's there. Nothing's gonna change it. There, it's guaranteed. That's the word.
Right, and so, and that's why I think the Democratic Party got to figure something out, because if they don't, I'm gonna tell you, if the Republicans ever get themselves together, which I doubt will ever happen in our lifetime, you're going to find blacks going to the Republican Party, because by nature, we are a conservative group of people. Okay, because we've always maintained our religious status and things of that nature, and we've been pretty conservative, but we haven't been fools. Okay,
well, we've never been fools about it, but that's the question, and it's been something that friends of mine have asked me even here on this network and everything, is that have we got too caught up? And I know some people are not liking the term and everything, but some people are feeling, including some of my white counterparts and all along those lines, that there is too much attention being paid to issues that are not relevant, or that we don't agree with the stance of the Democratic Party. Because I've had some of my conservative friends and even some that are moderate friends ask me if this kind of what they call woke agenda around transgenderism and even the Black Lives Matter and other things aren't hurting the cause, because we're alienating some of those liberal white voters that might actually be voting for us in the past and everything, because of some of the terminology that is being used. I was wondering, you're there in DC, is that something that is a concern? Because I know that while DC is a chocolate city, Maryland is not all that much of a chocolate city, and there are definitely some both conservative whites as well as liberal whites up there. So I'm wondering, are some of the liberal whites not wanting to hear about, the LGBT rights and the abortion issue and the trans stuff and even some of the stuff in our community, and maybe are even singing that victim song as well, where they're feeling like they're being victimized because they didn't do it, their grandparents or their great grandparents did.
Right.
Just wondering your thoughts around that and what kind of reaction you get when you talk to them.
This is the thing. People took the context of Black Lives Matter out of context. Okay. Right. What we were trying to say, and what we've always tried to say, that all lives matter, but we got to focus on Black lives because of the slaughter that was taking place and that has taken place at the hands of police officers. Okay. You look at Eric Gardner. I can't even think of the lady's name down in Texas. You look at you can name. Go after, you can name people on top of people. And that's where that those three words came from, Black Lives Matter. Well, I think one of the things that I saw this happen was that whites, I think they deliberately took those three words to try to turn them against us, okay? White lives matter, blue lives matter, green lives matter, my grandmama's lives matter, Confederate lives matter, that kind of thing, okay? Not saying that the true picture behind this was us saying that, look, we tired of getting killed when we get pulled over by the police officers. Don't our lives matter?
Right.
Okay? But you got those racist whites, crybaby liberals and crybaby conservatives that felt like their feelings were hurt because we keyed in and said Black Lives Matter. Okay.
I'm glad you just called them that, because wasn't it Malcolm X or one of them radicals? It might have been one of the members of the Black Panthers that said that one of the most dangerous people out there wasn't necessarily the conservative or the very ultra conservative rednecks that was out there, but it was some of those neoliberals, I believe is what he called them and everything. And I can't remember whether it was Malcolm or whether it was Stokely Carmichael or one of the other people with the Black Panthers. But I do remember that quote was out there, that sometimes they can be, while they're supposed to be our allies, they can be some of our worst enemies as well. And I wish I could think of the quote, but
they're crying up a storm. So they have taken something that we value, our lives, and try to make it look like it seems like it's wrong for us to say, hey, look, hey, don't kill us no more. Black Lives Matter, okay? And that's what they have done. And they have tried to change the scenario by calling it woke. Yep. Woke. Okay.
And I don't get it, because last time I checked, it seems to me that that's supposed to be, that corrupted word should be a positive word. Because I don't know about you, but later on this evening, because we're already at evening time here in North Carolina. I mean, I know we got people watching where it's daytime around the world and everything, but right now here in Durham, North Carolina, where you are up there in the Maryland, DC area, it's nighttime. In about a few more hours and everything, I'm going to go to sleep and get me some rest. And I hope that I wake up in the morning just like I hope I wake up every morning and everything. And that to me is the definition of woke. It's something that's a positive, but they have corrupted it and turned it into a negative. Because last time I checked, everybody that goes to sleep hopes to wake up. I mean, that doesn't happen for everybody. We do know that life is full of expiration dates as well, and we never know when it's going to happen. But the goal is every day to go to sleep and wake back up.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the LGBTQ community, they are people, okay? They may be different in their views of how they see their sexuality and other things, but they still people, okay?
Right.
Then do I agree with everything they expound when it comes to civil rights? No, because we all have civil rights, okay? And I don't think we need to carve out special rights for any group of people, okay? Because I think the law is clear and cut when it comes to civil rights, okay? Now, I think the biggest controversy they have now is when it comes to gender changes and how it affects their ability to play sports, okay? Right. And that's going to be an ongoing issue as long as the LGBTQ community is around, okay? But they are people, okay? And they need to be treated like people. But what you have is a conservative white population that's constantly coming down on them that don't want to accept them in the community.
They don't want to accept it in the community, but then they also got crazy rules that exist and everything. And, when it comes down to it, I don't know about you, but I love the company of a good woman if I'm in the middle of dating and everything. Right now, that's not happening in the life, but hopefully that will change at some point. But I do enjoy the company of a good lady, but I'm also not trying to have everybody and their mother know what's going on in my bedroom. And I think that would be the same thing with the LGBT community as well. Because what happens there should be up to the individuals that are engaged. I mean, as long as it's not, within certain communities, like as long as it's not hurting children, as long as it's not going after animals and doing other things, then I think most people are cool with you doing whatever you want to. I mean, there are literally certain things that are in certain books, including down here in the South, that many people enjoy doing in their sexual relationships that are technically still against the law and everything. But I'm not trying to go there and be knocking on the doors to find out if people are practicing that act or not. Because if an enjoyable act is really none of my business whether they are enjoying themselves.
And see, what you got to understand, the younger generation doesn't care how we feel about the LGBTQ community, okay? Then my daughter has two friends and a male who are bisexual. They to let you know that they are, not like they bragging on anything. Then she has another friend, a good friend of hers, one of her best friends that she went to college with, is gay, okay? And she takes on the role of a male, okay? And they're good people, Yeah,
that's what I've seen. Literally, I mean,
I don't have no problem out of them. Anything, it's just like with a friend from that she went to college with. I have to remember the pronouns, And,
I had to remember that too, because literally until about maybe 4 or 5 months ago, my next door neighbor literally was a transgender, transvestite person. They would definitely be male oriented. I don't know if they were going through the process or what they were doing. I used to see them even on mass transit and everything, and they were in that cosmetology field, so they did hair as a side business, literally from the apartment when they were living here. And I would sometimes see them on the bus. And I think they even told me their name, and I don't remember it right now. And they told me which pronoun they wanted to be addressed by. And when I saw them, I addressed them by that pronoun. Like I said, I don't even know if they still live here in the area, but I know up until I'd say about 6 or 7 months ago, they were literally my next door neighbor, and I said they're decent enough people and everything. Didn't try to pick up on me, and I was glad of that because they see that wasn't my game and everything. But at the same time, they were respectful enough to engage and to tell me how they wanted to be addressed and everything. I did have a question for you before we get done, because it's been bothering me on my mind and everything. And it's a news story because we had this Durham police chief I brought up on one of our other shows that we shipped off to Memphis, and apparently she created this unit. I think it's called the Scorpion Unit, and now they are in the process of getting rid of her and everything. So my thing to you is that I guess sometimes our own people aren't always our greatest advocates as well when it comes to police, because this was a sister and there was questions around the way that she handled being a police chief when she was the police chief here in Durham. Then we shipped her off to Memphis, and now apparently Memphis has let her go because of that whole incident with Tyrese Nichols and this Scorpion Unit and all along those lines. So I just wanted your thoughts about how sometimes the system, even our own people, get caught up in the system and wind up playing the system game.
I think what happened with her, a lot of crap goes on with the police department. Probably even in Durham, a lot of crap goes on with the police department. And a lot of times they keep a lot of stuff from the police chief, okay? Now she might have known that there was a unit, a Scorpio unit, and what they were charged with doing. Okay,
Right.
but she probably didn't never know to what extent they had gone off the deep end. Okay,
Right.
I'm gonna tell you something. If it hadn't been for that camera on the corner of that street corner that night,
Mm-hmm.
we would never known the truth behind what happened to Nicholas. Okay,
That's
because
true.
they would have said that he resisted arrest, put up a struggle, and they were just trying to protect themselves. Okay, and the worst they would have gotten was they would probably gotten off, and Memphis would have been hit with a silver suit. Thank God for those cameras on that corner that night.
Yep.
Okay, now one thing we had to face too, that it's not always the white police officer that's
That's
killing
my point, right? Sometimes
black
our own.
officers that's killing us.
Yep.
These were college educated officers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But they thought they could take the law into their own hands, but they forgot that camera was up there on that corner. And
They
so the
forgot that
camera saw
camera and
everything.
that. Yeah, they forgot that camera and that Wild West mentality can
Mhm.
exist even among our own policemen and even among our own sheriffs
Yeah,
and other law enforcement, even some in the federal level and all along those lines. I did
yeah,
have one other quick thing I was going to ask you about because it's one thing that goes on. It happened. I kind of alluded to it earlier with the stimulus money. Is we love it when we get gift money, and I've actually got a couple of checks recently. I need to go cash them and everything because they did some audit, and I actually won the audit, meaning that they sent me some money. I mean, it wasn't a lot, like maybe $30, $40 here,
but
$50
it was
there.
money they owed
But
you.
yeah, it was money that was owed to me and everything. But
Mhm.
what was funny is the last letter that I got was basically that, yes, we've sent you the money and we're glad that we've sent you the money and we do owe you this money because we did our assessment, our audit, and we realized that we owed you this amount of money based on returns and everything else and everything. But if you owe money to another agency, we want you to send the money that we're giving you to them. So I'm going like, so you go give me the, it's like that Peter to pay Paul kind
Yeah.
of notion. So they're like,
Mhm.
yes, we know that we're giving you this money, but we're the federal government. So we also know that you owe some money to some other people. So when you get this money, please send the money to the other people. And I'm going like, well, if you know that and you're the government, why didn't you just send it to them directly?
Right. Right. And that's how government, but I didn't give you no interest, it did it?
No.
I'm saying that's the thing. If
and
we owe the
then give
government
you
money, if we owe the government money, we got to give them interest that's compounded daily. I think it's like a point and a half. But they don't give us none. They don't pay us our interest on the money that they done kept for so many years. It takes you a long time to get it back. But going back to your the police chief in Memphis, she just got caught up in a situation where they had to chop somebody's head off. They're gonna chop her head off. And it's like, hey, you the chief, you supposed to know about this stuff.
Yep.
No. And maybe she was told about it. Maybe she was told that she needed to get rid of the unit. But the thing about it, like they said, when she was in North Carolina, she was doing the same thing in North Carolina. She was running a clandestine,
clandestine unit.
clandestine unit in your police department. And that's where she had a terrible reputation there in Durham.
Yeah, she's had a definitely horrible reputation, and definitely, like I said, I know some people in both the police and the deputy, the sheriff department, and I don't think that any of them are overly surprised by the fact that she ran into trouble when she got to this new job and everything. Because sometimes if you got those reputations, you just carry them on into your new location.
Yeah, and they probably knew. Memphis probably knew about it, but they probably saw her as being hard on crime. Okay, that she would come in and do something great for the city of Memphis.
Yeah, well, a lot of the candidates, we even know that from some of the Democrats and from the Republicans and others, and all along those lines, it has become very common for people to use that, and even Trump sometimes uses it, that law and order theme. And I'm not quite 100% sure what law and order is supposed to mean according to them and just in general, because a lot of times I think that it's just a means of saying law and disorder, or in some cases that we want to go back to the Wild Wild West as well. So sometimes I hear that terminology and it sometimes puts shivers in your fine because you're going like, well, shouldn't you be enforcing the law in the first place? And why are you trying to make it different? And then the fact that they can sometimes get military style weapons. I mean, weapons that in some departments in certain cities and states make some of that equipment that the folks in Israel and Ukraine have look mild. So I'm thinking,
Yeah,
well, like, do we need this kind of military equipment in any city and everything? But they're going like, no, we need the latest and the best toys and everything. And I don't get that. Just like I don't get the whole thing with the war on drugs, with most of them going after these dealers, and then they're talking about that the dealers are coming from these exotic places. But last time I checked, every time that they bust them, I've yet to see them bust them with a plane yet and everything. So I'm going like, who's bringing the drugs into the country that would have the plane? Because most of the people I know, I'm sure up there in the hood in the Maryland, D.C. area, I know definitely in the hood here in Durham, how many people you know that got a plane?
we don't.
I know I don't.
Yeah, we don't. And look, like I did get through the whole show without freezing up. I got to figure out what causes me to freeze.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure what that would be because sometimes it's just it might be the where the router is and different other locations. But yeah, it
Yeah, I
could be
might
the
have to move
router.
my route to another location. But we don't need those military style tanks and stuff. They're like I live. The county I live in is outside of DC, small, about 175,000 people. What does our sheriff department need a daggone tank for?
Exactly.
Armor car for?
I don't get that.
It's not doing nothing but getting rusted. It's just sitting there. I mean, we very seldom have any crime that requires. I don't know. I've been in this county since 1997, and we haven't had a situation yet which would have required a armor car.
No, not only that, but I mean, not to knock a class of people, but a lot of people that are involved in clandestine and criminal activities, they ain't exactly always the brightest people in the world. Because I remember that one of my cases, the gentleman, and unfortunately he passed away, got stuck in the convenience store that I think he was trying to rob. And then I think I've told you before that this was decades ago before it became a history hub and all along those lines. But when it was a bus terminal, we had somebody that was robbing what is now a boutique hotel, but at that time it was a bank. And I'm sorry, if you're gonna rob a bank, shouldn't you at least have an escape plan? But they caught him literally at the bus terminal because he wasn't smart enough to realize when the bus was leaving. So he literally robbed the bank and then walked down to the bus terminal, and they caught him at the bus terminal waiting for the bus. So I'm going like, it seems to me that you should know roughly how long it's going to take you to get there, and maybe have a minute or two to get on the bus. But he didn't even have enough wherewithal to realize that part of the plan to know what the routes are. And even though that was a decade or so ago, it hasn't changed much even this day. Those schedules are pretty much predetermined. So.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Everything's kind of screwed up right now. Politics is probably the most, screwed up as a situation we're in right now. You just wonder what the first Tuesday in November, what the result's going to be.
Like I said, I'm not putting anything past the results. I'm hoping that Biden will get his second term, but I'm not going to be surprised if I don't hear about a Trump victory. I hope that isn't the case, but nothing. I was totally shocked and flabbergasted the first time he won, but after seeing some of his supporters and seeing how adamant they are, I don't think anything is going to surprise me at this point and time and everything. I don't know that I'm going to be, and this happens every year because that's part of the Democratic message and going on now is that a Trump victory would be a destruction of democracy. And I do know a number of people that have sworn down that if Trump wins, they're going to move to Canada or they're going to move to Ghana or a number of other places. And we say that, but then the question becomes, do you have the resources to do it? And if you don't have the resources, don't you just wind up having to stick it out for the time that he's in there? I mean, back in the 80s, I was a Reagan fan, but I also didn't think that I was going to be moving away from Milwaukee because when he was in office that first time and everything, because Reagan was 80, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was old too.
Yeah, he was old too. I think he was like 80 to 84, 80 to 88, something like that. But I was in college, so it's not going to totally impact my college decision and everything. Now, I'd be lying to you, Reggie, if I didn't tell you that I didn't have a little bit of joy and hope that he might get knocked out of office when he had that incident with, I think it was Hinckley and everything. Didn't want the man to necessarily die, but at the same time, I was hoping that he might get incapacitated enough that we would get the second or the third in command in office. But that didn't happen, and I just dealt with him for the time that he was in there. And there was even some things about both Reagan and Nixon that I could find that I could agree with. I'm definitely a diehard Democrat. I could find some things, like I said before on this show and other shows, the enterprise zones, I could see their purpose. Even some of the things that Reagan did, I could see purpose around it. Now, there are some other things like Nancy Reagan's just saying no, that I don't get it. I don't get it in the sex conversation. I don't get it on the drug conversation. It's one of those slogans that sounds good, but I don't know how really feasible it is just to say no, because when you're saying just say no to drugs, if you're in that environment, that might be easier said than done. And just saying no to sex, there's a thing called hormones, and I don't think we can resist that body chemistry and everything. So you can say you're going to say no, but sometimes it's not as easy as what our body chemistry and those hormones are telling us to do.
Yeah. What our only line, our next line of defense to try to keep, if 45 does win, is to make sure that we have a strong majority in the Senate and a strong majority. Well, you don't need but one person majority in Congress to get something in the House, but you do need to have a good strong majority in the Senate to get stuff done. If that were to happen to him in office, other than the fact you hate having him in office, wouldn't harm us because he wouldn't be able to get nothing pushed. He'll push out those executive orders like he did on the first day he came into the White House when he first became president. He just sit there all day long with about 50 executive orders. He was just constantly signing that. It really didn't mean that. And I can't even remember what he signed there anyway and what was our whole point of signing them,
Right.
But, there's got to be a way around keeping them out, and I'm hoping that the people will realize as they get closer to the election day in November that they will go ahead and go out and vote against them. That's the one thing that can guarantee he's not in there.
Yep, that's true. Just go out there and get that support and everything. Before we get out of here, I know it's almost time to do that. And switching back to sports, do you have any prediction? Because there are 8 teams left as to who's going to win in these next couple of rounds and everything. I mean, there's some people in the Midwest that are thinking it could be Green Bay, Detroit. There's a lot of people that are very big on Baltimore, but they've got a tough game against Houston and everything. So what is your thoughts about who's next? I mean, people are even excited about Tampa Bay and Baker and everything. So
I still think the Super Bowl is going to be the 49ers and the Ravens.
Okay. I can see that.
I don't think Kansas is just Kansas City from last year. They even showed that in the cold that they weren't that, they were dropping passes, and even the week before that they were dropping passes. The other teams, Detroit should have lost that game. I mean,
they definitely should have.
The Rams should have beat that, but they got a bad call, a no call, that they didn't get, so I don't see Detroit being there. I don't see, none of those teams being there.
You don't see Tampa Bay being there.
I don't see Tampa Bay being there. I think Tampa Bay just hit one of those lucky streaks where the players are really playing together right now. I just think they hit the stride at the right time.
Right.
But let me tell you something. San Francisco going to bring the hammer on Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they got a good defense. I mean, the Ravens got a good defense. They got a good offense with Lamar Jackson. That game Saturday, with I believe who they play Saturday? I believe they played Buffalo Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm trying to think, is it Tampa Bay? Does Tampa Bay play San Francisco this round, or do they get Detroit this round?
Let me see. Let me look it up real quick here. NFL playoffs.
That's right.
I was thinking that they got them, but either way,
I'm trying to remember myself.
Anyway, okay, the Texans got the Ravens, which I think Texans have done good and had a good run of it, but they're not coming to Baltimore to win. 49ers going to knock the Packers off, okay?
Okay,
But
so that's what it is. The 49ers against the Packers.
yeah, 49ers defense is strong. And then, like I said, the Buccaneers and the Lions, uh, the Lions going to win that one. And the Chiefs and the Bills, that's a toss-up.
Yep.
That could go either way, because Buffalo really looked good the other day, so that's going to be a toss-up right there, But other games, I think it's easy to call them. But then, like I said, you never know what's going to happen on any given Sunday.
On any given Sunday, you never know who's going to show up.
Hey, I was telling people, don't sleep on the Rams. I said the Rams have won, because I look at records too. The Rams have won 5 of their last 6 games, okay? So that's telling me they're gelling, okay? Don't sleep on them. And they slept. Dallas slept. I think Dallas thought they could go to that game and just run them out the stadium and keep going. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Well, was the Rams Detroit, like you said. The Rams should have won.
Oh yeah, the Rams should have won that. Detroit wasn't. Detroit played some good games this year, and they happened to come out on top. They weren't the greatest team in the NFL this year, even though they had a good record. But the Rams should have beat them. But refs, I think this has been a terrible year for refs in any division of sports, be it college, high school, or pros. Referees have done a stinking job this year.
Yeah.
They really need to go to camp this year and get trained on the calls and what to look for in the calls and how to handle the calls.
How to handle the calls and even when to go to the board, because there are a couple of ones that they could have gone to the board too.
Yeah.
They did go to the board too.
Yeah, so I think, hey, it's going to be something to see, man.
It's definitely going to be something to see. It's going to be interesting to see.
I'll be sitting right here Saturday and Sunday partaking of America's pastime.
It is. Well, there were some people that might argue that that's also baseball. I know my granddad, when he was living, was a big baseball fan, but I've got friends that even work for some of our minor league franchises, but I don't know if I'm ready to declare it America's pastime because, like you said, football and even sometimes basketball can pace what's going on in terms of the audience appeal from baseball and everything. But it's a big game and all of that, so it'll be interesting to see what happens and who decides to win this whole thing and what we're going to have for a Super Bowl in February. Believe it or not, that's only about a month away.
I think February, the weekend of February, the second weekend in February.
Yeah, that would be
about the 10th or 11th, something like that.
The 10th or 11th. I think it's like 3 days before Valentine's, because Valentine's Day falls in the middle of the week. So if it's a Sunday, it would be the 11th, because the 14th is on a Wednesday.
Yeah, so it's coming. It is coming.
It is definitely coming. Well, it's been a good conversation.
Mark, as always, I'll try to reach in my bag and grab up a guest next week if I feel like it, But this is good. I enjoy chit-chatting with you and everything.
Always good chit-chat with you, talking about what the Orange Man's doing and what's going on in sports and whatever else is crossing our mind, including Memphis. Yeah. Always good having these kind of.
And for the people don't understand, the Orange Men, we're not talking about the Syracuse University Orange Men. We're talking about that guy who ran for office. This orange makeup on his face.
Yeah, he got that orange makeup. Before we get on out of here, there was a major coach that left and everything, and they apparently have a replacement for him already. So apparently Nick Saban has left the house, and he's been replaced. And I think that I heard that Belichick was gone. I think you predicted that.
Yeah, he's gone too, and he interviewed with the Falcons yesterday. But this is the thing, and I like what New England did. They had a succession plan, which wasn't supposed to go into effect until after next season. But what happened was the new coach put in the contract he signed 2 years ago that he would be the next head coach.
Cool.
And hey, so there was a good deal. Now, I wouldn't want to go to Alabama and try to walk in the footsteps of Saban. Because that town down there, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, them people in that town would swallow you up for losing.
They swallow you for losing. There are certain towns that are known for their respect for their coaches, and definitely anything in Alabama, anything in certain areas of Texas, and all along those lines. That they do not take kindly to losing, and if you start losing, they will swallow you up in a minute and be ready to let you go.
He better go down there that new coach they got, and he better play some football. He better get them guys psyched up because if he lose more than 2 games next year, they might burn his house down. So he better get with it.
You better get with it. And like I said, there are certain places that will give you reprieve and everything. Fortunately for both of them, Duke and Carolina in basketball are doing well. But, Carolina suffered last year. If Carolina had and we still haven't gone through ACC play, but if Carolina skids too far, those Carolina alumni, and just like the Iron Dukes at Duke, will get you if you don't bring a winning program to these programs that are used to winning and everything. They might give you, like I said, they gave Hubert a year of one bad year last year. So there are certain cities, and I don't think Alabama is one of them. There are certain areas that might give you a little bit of a reprieve, but if you do it back to back, you out the door. And fortunately, he did not do back to back.
Hubert, I was surprised they made him coach. I mean, honestly, I was really surprised.
Oh yeah,
that he was the heir apparent.
He's the heir apparent. I was watching The Field of 68, which is a YouTube podcast. I think they might be on other podcasts too. And one of the heir apparents I thought was actually on that because they had Gerald McNeil, who's from my school of Marquette, but then they also had Tyler Hansborough, and I would think that he would have been more of a heir apparent than Hubert would have been, and everything just because of his relationship with the coaching staff.
Yeah,
he was doing the podcast. So he might be next in line, but
might be next in line. Okay, everyone, we want to thank y'all for watching the Urban Sentinel Live Show. I'm your host, Reggie Kearney. I got my producer with me, Mark Lee. We've been chopping it up tonight. Hey, go out and have a rest of your week. Bundle up. Up here we're talking about snow again on Friday. Just stay warm and stay safe and, just enjoy life.
That 4-letter word, y'all talking about it again. We don't like that 4-letter word here. That's what we call it.
We're doing it again Friday. Talking about we might get an additional 2 to 4 inches on Friday. Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. So look, until next Tuesday night, everyone take care. Have a good one. Thank you, Mark, for sitting in and everything. And we'll see you next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock on the Urban Sentinel Live Show. Take care. Peace.
All right, take it easy. Peace.